Thank you very much, Monsieur Bonjean, and thanks to Monsieur Bonjean's daughter, Anne, for translating this message. We'll now hear a keynote speak from MarielleTsukamoto. Marielle was born in Sacramento, California in 1937 to Alfred and Mary Tsukamoto. The Tsukamotos raised grapes and strawberries on a small farm until their family, along with all persons of Japanese ancestry living on the West Coast, were removed from their homes and sent to American concentration camps during World War II. As career educators, both Marielle and her mother have had a strong commitment to telling of this part of American history to educate and inform future generations of the importance of preserving and protecting their constitutional rights. Her mother, Mary, played a crucial role in the grassroots effort that led to the passage of the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, which offered a formal apology to the surviving internees. Marielle has carried on this legacy throughout her career in education, retiring in 2001 after 42 years as a teacher and administrator. We are appreciative of Marielle's time to share with us her Memorial Day perspective. Marielle.
Well, if as a teacher, you always find that if there's a problem, it's going to be a technical one. So I appreciate the expertise. I had the privilege of traveling with a group of about 120 people from all over the United States and Hawaii. Many of them were relatives and friends of the soldiers that fought there in years. And you just heard the heartfelt message of thanks and gratitude from the mayor. And it's that same spirit that we experienced when we traveled there. I didn't realize how many monuments and places where they honored fallen Nisei soldiers that were contained in that area in the Osage Forest. We did go to the cemetery that was beautifully taken care of by both the French and the United States military, and placed wreaths at grave sites of a few of the Nisei soldiers buried there. From there, we traveled by bus through the countryside, and you could see the terrain, the hills that these soldiers had to climb. And remember, this was October. It was the beginning of winter. And, the weather was cold. They didn't have good roads. And these young men had to go up those hills and fight to liberate the town of Brers. Even today, anybody that says that you had a relative or you come from America, the people of the town are so welcoming. And I wore this shirt. You could see the 442 emblem, the torch of liberty, representing a welcoming nation to immigrants, promise of liberty, freedom, and the opportunity to create a better life. And that's what these immigrants came for. And so the 442 symbol is the torch of liberty. They wanted to remind people that they were sons of immigrants. We're not treated equally, but that's the legacy that they fought for. And that is the lesson that even today, the town of Brers celebrates. They recognize the Nisei soldiers for liberating them, for giving them back their town, their freedom, and they honor that memory through all of the special ceremonies that they have. And in addition to that, part of their education curriculum is that story. And I think that's a lesson for us as a teacher. I know my mother and many organizations are trying to infuse the story of the valor of the 442, the sacrifices that were made by the Iseis to carve out a better life for the future. And we don't often see that in schools. Brers and people of France do a much better job of telling our story and why those young men fought so long ago. We even went up this driveway. It was just a small road to a dairy farm. And right there next to the yard where, you know, the farm began is a beautiful monument. And around it were beautiful flowers that the next owner, these are not the people that even originally lived there, but they are continuing to maintain that special gravesite, honoring the first Nisei soldier that fell trying to recapture Bruyères. We also went up to the site of where the lost battalion was rescued. You know, there were 200 men from a unit in Texas. And in those days, everybody from the same town, all the friends could join together in one unit. So this small town in Texas has most of their young men in that unit. Even, and they were 8 miles behind the German lines. Men from their own infantry group tried twice to get through to them and could not. It became a story that was broadcast all over the United States, the story of the lost battalion. And finally, there was a presidential order. You are to rescue those men at all costs. And I remember talking to Bob Kashiwagi, who was there. And he said it was cold, it took 5 days. And if you saw the trees, they were so close together. He said the forest was even dark in the daytime. And you could still see remnants of bullet holes in some of those trees. Bob told me that they were fighting in the middle of the German army. They had to put handkerchiefs on their back so that they would not shoot their own men. They had hand-to-hand combat, and he described how they came to a small clearing, and just over that hill was the location of the lost battalion. They were stuck there. And he said, what the hell? We just said, go for broke, and ran through that area. And they did rescue the men. Between Bruyères and the Battle of the Lost Battalion, I believe they took 800 casualties to save 200 men. Daniel Linoa's son asked his father once, you know, why did you do it, Dad? He said, it was in the name of honor. We didn't have a choice. We wanted to honor our role as soldiers of the United States who are fighting for liberty and freedom, despite the fact that some in the 442 had parents and brothers and sisters still in camp, prison camps. The people of Bruyères honor their memory, and they are promoting that legacy, what those soldiers fought for, to have freedom, to have a better life, to have a better future for their children. And it is developing into that. But I don't believe, and neither does the mayor believe, that that legacy is complete. There is still more to do. And I know for a fact that if it wasn't for the record of the 442, my mother often said, I don't think we would have had redress. So even the apology that was finally given to those of us that are survivors of the internment camp and that experience, the Nisei soldiers, the 442, the MIS, all the veterans that served had a distinct and important role. I was a child, but I accepted the apology and the $20,000 for my grandparents who weren't alive, for all the people that couldn't be there to get that apology. And now I feel an obligation, a duty, to continue the legacy of the 442 and all the people that suffered under World War II, so that we protect the rights of everybody. And I think some of you know what I'm talking about. There are immigrant children that are separated and put into prison camps just like we were, except the parents aren't with them. There is more that we can do to honor their memory and legacy. And I think that this program and many others will be part of that legacy. Thank you.